So now another thing we talked about is actually using the channels themselves in your image to create new masks that we can use in our curves. So I'm going to turn the curve that we created for nighttime. Another thing I would recommend is rename your curves and your color fills so you know exactly what they mean. So I typically will leave the curve name on it and then underscore dark, let's say, so you know it's darkening. This one's a little bit more self-evident because you have the color here, but maybe color fill night. And you'll see more later when you're actually working your Photoshop file, you'll end up having a whole host of like 50, 100 some odd layers, and if they're not named, it just really, can make your day, well, bothersome. So right now what I want to do is I actually want to make a selection for the sky only. So basically you cycle through your channels, so go into your channels bar, left click on the red, and you just want to make sure that the eye is only on for the channel you have selected, because if you have multiple channels it'll combine, so you're combining red and green right now. And you just left click across them and you'll cycle between the different channels. And what you're really looking for is to see the value information of what you want to create your mask for. And in this case we want the sky, so here you can actually see you're actually getting a fairly bright sky now with the rest of the land mass going very dark. And this is basically all we want to do. We want to create a black and white image that we're going to use as a mask. So the white will be the opaque portion of what we want, and then the black will mask out what we don't want. So if you right click over the blue channel, duplicate channel, click OK. You never want to work on the original channels themselves because you're going to be destroying the actual image. So you always want to make a new copy. So left click, and you can see here it's doubling up on the blue, so just click the original blue channel. Left click and call it sky mask. And then here you can still do usual Photoshop manipulation. So we're going to add a curve, but you can see here we don't have the adjustment layers handy. So what you want to do is you want to use the hotkey, and you can do Control or Command M. This is going to pull up the curves adjustment layer. And then basically all we want to do is increase the brightness of the sky. So you can see we're just dragging across. And then what you want to do is you actually want to darken. So I'm going to grab the bottom and then drag and then keep pulling until you get a good black and white mask on the sky to land ratio. And you can see here I'm dragging it more so we can have some of these elements. You can click OK, and you can do it again, Control M, and do a mask again. So basically when you want to confirm what you're doing. And now I'm dragging the midpoints, and see right in here these are dropping down. And maybe I'm going to drag the darks, drag a little bit. You don't want it to get too crunchy in here because basically it's going to affect the soft selection of your image. Click OK. You can always zoom into the image. I'm using the space bar and the move tool, so left click and space bar. And you can see there's still some pieces that I don't want, so you can even hit B with the brush tool, brackets to increase the size, hit D to go to default black and white, X to switch your foreground background, and you can actually paint in elements too. And basically once you get it to what you like, zoom back out, you'll have the sky mask, and if you left click, Control left click, and you can see the marching ants move around your image. So again, left click, Control or Command, and now you've actually made a selection for this layer. Now if you go back to your curve, and if you right click, you can delete the layer mask, so it was all white. And now if you go back to the bottom, see this mask icon, add mask layer, you have a marquee selection. So if you actually left click, you create a mask for it, and now your sky is selected but your land is not. And if you turn your eye off, you can see that the sky is now darkening down. And now here's your curve over here, and now you can again readjust the curve for that. So this mindset is what you want to do for individually selecting the different elements. So now you can see you might want to still have the generic, so I want to duplicate this layer, click OK. I'm going to right click on the curve, I'm going to delete the layer mask. Nothing's selected right now, so I'm going to create a blank white mask. So now this is applying over the whole image, and then the one that's actually just the sky is affecting here. And this is how you're going to able to manipulate each different element that you want instead of doing everything globally as a whole. And what I would do now is I would probably maybe make a selection of a mask for the shadow area of the buildings so that I can keep those lifted slightly, and then do another mask where maybe all the grass in here on the bright side, those drop down in value.